we possibly thinking? What was going to be an 8-hour trip turned out to be 12 hours today. Drove from Virginia and was just much. It was hellacious. Well, no, it wasn't hellacious. Let me rephrase it. It actually, it was disappointing because it took so long, but we have, like 4 stops with kids who need stuff. Fine. It's fine.
Oh, and nobody threw up.
And then there was traffic, but I drove at least more than half of it.
Everything but the last, 3 hours, probably. You
and
drove.
I felt great. It's just my knee. Something happened with my knee, like it's overextended or something. I don't know how. I didn't do anything. But this is the worst it's ever been, so I can't really walk, and it hurt like hell. I mean, nobody cares. I'm 50. It's like, whatever. It's going to happen. But I can't have that all the time, so that sucks. So I had to not drive and then just kind of lie in the back. But we have a mystery that has happened here. We're back, by the way.
I don't think it's that big a deal.
Yes, it is that big a deal.
Okay.
We have... I'm going to text out a picture.
It's some dust, basically.
No.
It's really not a big deal.
Yes, it is.
It's not a big deal at all. There was some dust in our house when we came back. I don't know. Little animals or something did it.
No,
I don't
it's
know.
not
Who cares?
true.
Who
It's
cares?
not true.
Who cares?
I want to know. I want help from people, Alice.
It doesn't matter.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? So there's my Instagram. I'm putting it on Instagram right now.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There was some dust in the house. I think it looks like somebody dragged the vacuum across the floor with the thing open or whatever. It doesn't look to me like anything that's a big deal. It could have easily happened a number of different ways and we didn't notice before we left. It could have been that your kids, did you ask them to vacuum before we left?
Yeah.
For the trip? Because maybe they dragged the container of vacuum stuff across the floor because that's what it looks like to me. Frankly.
I don't know why you don't want to.
I don't think there's a supernatural explanation to the dust on our floor.
There's not a supernatural explanation. So we have this. It's a 300-year-old house, as you know. We have these huge, wide floorboards. I just put it up on Instagram and Facebook.
Uh-huh.
We have these huge, wide floorboards. Inside the floorboards, at some parts of them, you can actually see downstairs into the basement. Inside these floorboard, in between them is a place where a lot of dust and stuff gets caught because they're separated. So we get home, and in a lot of these floorboards, there is dust that has been blown up, like dog fur and old M&Ms or whatever it is, been blown up from the crease between the floorboards.
It looks like the stuff from
Alice,
vacuum.
can you
okay.
let me? I realize that you're the floorboard
I'm
denier.
a floorboard skeptic. I know.
Yeah. But so what happened here is, and it's a couple places on the same floor. So what's going on is that the spaces between the floorboards are now devoid of all the dust, and that has been blown next to it. So somehow this happened simultaneously while we were gone.
Okay.
So this is my theory, and this happens to also be my brother's theory, because I just talked to him about this. My theory is that in the basement, there was a burst of air that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow, whether it was just the heater kicking in and just like suddenly really kicking, I don't know what happened. But there was a burst of air forcing all of this dust and dog hair, whatever it is, from these creases. And I'm just fascinated if you guys know, like if you've seen that phenomenon before or what it is. So at first it looked like an animal had been fighting, but it's symmetrical.
It's
with
like in lines. I think somebody dragged something across the floor.
It's
Probably
not,
before we left, and we just didn't notice because we left in a big rush.
No, I was here, and I was doing the vacuuming and part of the vacuuming, and it's not something that was. It's also too neat. It's not something. There's no sign of something having been dragged. That's not what that is.
It's like in lines. That's what it looks like to me.
It's in lines. That's right.
I'm not really.
Why is it in lines?
Because somebody dragged something across the floor.
That's not how that works. There's not something's been dragged. Something's been pushed simultaneously.
All right.
Up in the. Are you so disinterested in this?
I'm really not interested in it at all. I'm just not interested in it. I don't know what else to tell you about it.
Well, I think it's an interesting, real phenomenon.
I just think we should clean up the dust and move on with our day.
I have cleaned it up. I have cleaned it up, but
Okay.
I took pictures and I took one and I've posted it.
It's called Ghostbusters.
It's not what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Alice.
What do you want me to do about it?
I want you to have an intellectual interest in how this oddity could have happened, because it might be something that happens with people who have old houses with old basements and floorboards that are porous and there's space between them. So it's just kind of interesting. And this is a time of year now where we're right in between cold and hot, and cold and less cold, actually, for considering, I think, up here in Massachusetts, it was not that something was happening. But anyway, my son went downstairs, and he said he didn't see anything odd, but then again, who knows?
So are you curious at all why I'm in a terrible mood or no?
Sure. Why are you in a terrible mood?
So I got an email from my dad today,
Uh-huh.
who I'm not really in contact with. For a variety of reasons, but I think this email exemplifies some of them. So he wrote to me and all my siblings to let us know that our cousin, his sister's daughter, posted about herself and her mom. And he said she's come a long way since her teens when she left home and has spat with her parents. She can't say enough about her mom's beauty, charisma, and intelligence. And she said she has never met anyone that comes close to her. She doesn't know me, in parentheses.
Okay, that's an odd thing to say.
She also said that the deeper you probe into her fascinating mind, the scarier it gets. Both my sister and I have episodes of God Complex, a.k.a. cosmic consciousness, which must have skipped a generation of my kids.
Oh, fantastic. I am on board with this. That is great.
It's amazing how kids come around regarding their parents as they experience their own life challenges. Did the cosmic consciousness skip a bleeping generation?
I'm not noticing a. So I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's fair to say that how many of you are there? 5?
Yes. I don't
Not
think any of us is in touch
Not many
with
of
our
you is talking to your dad right now.
now.
So
this is after. So the no contact started after he told me that I needed to start practicing chaos magic to have a more successful podcast like Diamond and Silk. That's when I eventually stopped responding to the messages because.
Well, I'm not necessarily sensing a note of contrition in there anywhere.
So, you know what? Guilty. I lack a cosmic consciousness. So that just put me in a really good mood to start the evening, as always. But yeah, your cousin hasn't met me, and that's why she thinks her mom's really smart. That really was the cherry on top of the whole thing. But yeah. So in case you're wondering why I'm not in touch with my dad, that's generally why.
Darren says, didn't come home to any house problems? Yes, we did. We came home to this issue, which Alice doesn't care about, which I'll take offline, of the dust. But
it was still raining in the kitchen, too.
Steve Robinson's rule says, if true to form, I'm assuming separate cars. No, this was not separate cars. This was a weird. I am done. You know what? It occurred to me today. I'm definitely done taking long highway trips ever again.
Next time you fly?
Even though this was, I'll fly, or even though this was like, considering on the way down I didn't feel good, this on the way back I did. And we had some great podcasts on, and everything was going well, except that there's nothing worse than effing traffic. There's nothing worse ever. The interstates suck, and I'm done. I'm done leaving my brain matter on the interstates. I am done. My brother made it as fun and as doable as possible.
I was not on the car rental, so I didn't drive
with
at
the
all.
big van.
So
Okay, you're exonerated. You're out. Okay, Alice, you have cosmic sense or whatever that is. We don't. The rest of us don't have to.
No,
so
that skipped my generation. I don't think our kids have cosmic consciousness.
So
either,
here's the thing. Here's the thing is that the parts of the driving that sucked were the parts at night where you can't see stuff. And the parts in the big industrial interstate parts, obviously that includes Pennsylvania and New Jersey, places that suck, and it just corridors that suck. So I thought about it, and I will drive again in long family trips, but only secondary roads. Only to the as our son calls them, the far street. Those suck, and I'm done. I'm done. Freaking 12 hours in the goddamn car.
It's a lot.
Especially since, and by the way, we love Awaken 188 Less. It's changed our lives, and we're all for it, etc., etc. Car rides are no place for anything special when it comes to health plans. No place, especially if you're like us, where you can't get your bleep together. It's like we don't. Here's Monday's healthy meat. Here's 2 days healthy meat. So, and we didn't have that done. I mean, we managed to. Well, I mean, I only blew it 2 days, but it's much more difficult with the chaos, the normal chaos, and having the stuff happening. I mean, just trying to have the right meats and this and that. And I don't dictate what's on the road. So, like, there was one restaurant that the girl just simply wouldn't let me like order for some reason. And fast food, there's if you're trying to go no carb or in no sugars, fast food is not going to work.
Well, and I mean, the other piece is that just at all the fast food restaurants, pretty much like in most of America, there's a problem with getting competent help. Like employees. So there's like, at a lot of them, I mean, like this morning we had to go to 2 Dunkin' Donuts because the first Dunkin' Donuts was not.
They just seized up.
That
was in Virginia, I think.
The serving of food and coffee happening at that Dunkin' Donuts for whatever reason. Something went wrong in the process.
Another thing I noticed was
I don't know.
We went to a McDonald's. This is just to feed the kids. What state was that? Godforsaken state was that in?
That probably was Maryland, the McDonald's.
Maybe it was. I can barely remember.
Oh no!
That was later. That was
New
probably,
York State.
No, that was Connecticut
McDonald's.
actually. Today.
I thought we were still in New York at that point.
Oh, maybe it was. But here's the. I've also noticed that there was no options for salads.
Yeah, I know.
They cut all the menus because there's no staffing and there's just no supply stuff, and so the salads are gone. I was hoping there would be like a salad where I could eat the lettuce and the egg out of it.
I've seen that due to the supply chain, there's going to be a lack of Christmas trees this year too.
That's fine with me.
Perfect.
By the way, I am off of, as Sally calls it, OG trees. I'm done. I'm done. I saw this great tree in South Carolina. Did you see the one through the window?
No.
It was a fake white thin tree that was just all blue bulbs that glowed. Mm-hmm. And like in some places, I'd say like that's tacky. But you know what? Frig traditional stuff. This house is the most traditional house in the world, and it coughs up dust symmetrically. You made me throw out my
sparkly silver Christmas tree.
I regret that.
Okay.
We're going gaudy this year, and we're never going back.
Okay.
Never. I'm not doing anything OG anymore. Our house itself is a relic. It's old pine symmetrical dust coughing hell, and I'm not doing it. We're getting a stupid weird plastic, and you're tacky, so you like this stuff, Alice. You're wearing Barracuda pants right now, so you're all for it.
What's Barracuda pants?
Your pants have these yoga pants that you have have these stripes like you're a Barracuda, which is
space dyed.
It's very
yarn.
Peggy Bundy.
No, it's what?
Yes, it is. Do you know who that is?
No.
By the way, you know what I like is that you see Dan and Bill Ricca? Danny and Bill Ricca?
No,
the picture of him?
No.
He is cutting his turkey, and he's got a nice 3-prong thing to hold it in place. Mm-hmm. That's a good implement. This is what I do. Now that I'm near death, I'm almost 50. No, I'm serious. I want to, I'm going to get more implements that make life easier.
Okay.
Like, what are the ones right now that make life easier for us, would you say?
I don't know.
Okay, so you don't want to talk about anything. What do you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk about Elon Musk and Twitter and stuff. But, I mean, like, no, go ahead. What implements do you want to buy?
No.
Can you go over it? Maybe we can find a Black Friday deal on implements.
No, I'm going to go get it. I'll get the implements. You talk.
So anyway, so you might have tuned in. We did go on Newsmax Radio, mostly Tom, but a little bit of me as well on Newsmax Radio this week. And we took a little bit of... we talked a little bit about Twitter and Elon Musk and all this stuff. But for people who maybe didn't, basically like all these same people like Angelo Carusone that we talked about before and Taylor Lorenz and all these people, they're basically like laundering their leftist activist talking points about how dangerous it is that Musk wants free speech. And they're putting them through like the New York Times and the Washington Post and all this stuff about how scary and dangerous it is that Twitter's going to allow free speech on it now and how brands like need to go away. So and take their advertising dollars off Twitter. So it's going to be interesting to see if they actually follow. But this is like mostly what these people are doing right now. They are determined to make sure that Twitter fails. Whatever else happens, they're going after it full bore, to the point where one of the quote like experts that Taylor Lawrence quoted in her Washington Post article, not only did she say that Musk having Twitter and bringing back accounts that were banned is opening the gates of hell in terms of the havoc it will cause. They're also saying that Apple and Google need to seriously start exploring booting Twitter off the App Store, says Alejandra Caraballo, clinical instructor at Harvard Law's Cyber Law Clinic, obviously. So what Elon Musk said basically to this is that if that actually happens, if they boot Twitter off the App Store, which is ridiculous, it's absurd. TikTok is literally a Chinese spy app, and that is on the App Store. But if they go after Twitter like they went after Parler and they kick it off the App Store, then Elon Musk said he'll make his own phone, which I think he should like start doing in advance anyway. Frankly, like, why wait for them to do it? They're trying to destroy you. And I mean, I don't know if he still doesn't get it or what the deal is, but like they're going after him. They're trying to destroy him. They're trying to destroy Twitter. Alyssa Milano tweeted how she doesn't want a car that's made by people who support white supremacists. So she's getting rid of her Tesla and buying, of all things, a Volkswagen, which is literally like invented by Hitler. So I mean,
that is absolutely true too. They tried to construct a Volkswagen for every German.
Yeah, it's Volkswagen, the people's car, as in like the Volk, like the people of Germany, but whatever. Anyway, so they're in total insane world. And she used to love Tesla and she used to love Elon Musk and all this stuff. But just because he bought Twitter and said that he's going to bring back banned accounts, he's now Satan and literally worse than Hitler. Because she's more willing to buy the actual Hitler car than the Elon Musk car at this point in time. So, I mean, the only person they dislike more than Elon Musk, I think, at this point is Donald Trump. So, Donald Trump's in big trouble, obviously, because he had Kanye West and Nick Fuentes over for dinner, which he says he didn't know that Kanye was bringing Nick Fuentes, but Milo Yiannopoulos is apparently running Kanye's presidential campaign that he says is going to happen. And everything, Trump has issued a bunch of statements on Truth Social talking about how he told Kanye he can't win and all this stuff. Kanye's been releasing crazy videos and screenshots of his texts with Milo and Nick Fuentes.
Oh,
and
great. Great. So he's texting with Nick Fuentes.
And Milo Yiannopoulos. And
we like Milo.
People.
We're Milo people in this house, are we not?
I mean, I do enjoy Milo Yiannopoulos quite a bit, but I wouldn't necessarily, if I were advising a presidential campaign, tell them to, hire him necessarily. So, like, we'll see what happens. But then, like, Milo's leaking stuff to Daily Beast, and it's kind of a mess.
To whom in Daily Beast?
Milo's talking to Daily Beast about how,
Why is he handing off to Daily Beast? Who's running it? Sargon? What's it? Tatya? What's her name? Who?
What are you talking? Who's running what?
What reporter is reporting Milo's handoffs?
Justin Rohrlich? Oh, no, that's a different story. Wait, where'd the one go that I was just in? I don't know, but they're reporting like, oh, Kanye advisor says blah, blah, blah. And it's Milo because that's like the only person that there is. But it's such a mess.
Although it is interesting to see that some of these, like I would call them the whack packers, around Trump have turned on him. Mm-hmm. Because well, they don't feel, and this is some Trump people I know too, feel that like Trump has betrayed them. Yeah,
well, that's
Trump
what Milo.
People are different than the whack packers.
Okay, what's the whack packers then?
Like Trump people, is like even Bannon and Stephen Miller and some of the guys who worked on the COVID thing. Some of them, I mean, these are people who were kind of had established careers beforehand and became his inner circle. Mm-hmm. The Whack Packers are more like Milo and Roger Stone and like
Or like Fuentes is a Trump supporter too,
yeah, I guess
obviously.
so. I mean, I'm telling you something. That dude is no good. He is a problem, and I'm not somebody who says future authoritarian this and that, but that dude is trouble.
Yeah.
Trouble.
So here's what Milo said. This is from Adam Mano and Zachary Patrizio, politics and entertainment reporters. So this is what Milo said. He said, as a connoisseur and intimate of several mercurial billionaires, it wouldn't surprise me in the least to find them laughing about it in the near future, assuming Mr. Trump isn't too wounded, of course. Though, he continued, Trump world is in crisis tonight. In my personal view, the former president has only himself to blame. This is an overdue reckoning. President Trump has neglected and betrayed everyone who loved him most, from the canceled personalities who helped him into office to his abused supporters on January 6th. He might like to reflect on whether he could have done more to acknowledge and support his most loyal fans over the years. Habitual callous ingratitude has a way of catching up with you. The campaign teaser is titled Mar-a-Lago Debrief and comes 2 days after West and noted white supremacist Nicholas Fuentes were spotted outside the former president's Florida golf club on Tuesday. So Milo apparently was at this dinner too. Milo and Fuentes at Mar-a-Lago. So, I mean, West is like singing singing Fuentes' praises in these videos he's been posting, talking about Tucker, all this stuff. What I am kind of intrigued by is the weirdness of the fact that the Kardashians are so tight with Balenciaga and all this like Balenciaga child abuse stuff. Have you followed any of this?
What is Balenciaga?
Balenciaga is a high fashion brand. It's like a really, really expensive fashion brand like Gucci or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And they have the Kardashians wear a lot of Balenciaga. They're really into the brand and close with it. But have you followed any of this scandal at all?
No.
So Balenciaga put out an ad campaign that featured little kids, like toddlers, holding, quote, like purses that look like teddy bears dressed in bondage gear.
Excellent.
So a bunch of people had a problem with this. And the problem was then compounded when some eagle-eyed sleuths noticed that in some of the props in the pictures in the ad campaign, one of like the papers lying on the desk is a court decision about child porn.
Jesus.
Yeah. And like there's some of the books on the tables and stuff are from people with like really, really risque, like borderline child pornographic, like artistic quote images. But anyway, the whole thing like walks this huge line. So a bunch of people were pointing out how inappropriate all this is and how like screwed up. Like one of the ad campaign photos, it's like a little kid holding the bondage teddy bear, and then like on the table in front of the kid are a bunch of like empty wine glasses. Like it's so weird and screwed up and just like, I mean, the whole thing. Anyway, so Balenciaga issued this apology and did a like, we're going to find the people responsible for this, and like blamed the photographer who was like, the photographer's like, I didn't pick any of the props. I just showed up and took pictures. So they're like mad at the creative agency and all this stuff. But it's like, and then there's like been a bunch of celebrities since this who have posted pictures of themselves in Balenciaga clothing, like in solidarity. And it's like solidarity with what? Like, I don't know.
Interesting.
But it's weird because Balenciaga is one of the brands who dropped Kanye West and said they were dropping advertising from Twitter, and they're super close with the Kardashians who wear a ton of Balenciaga. So it's like sort of this weird connection that in my view lends credence to the idea that Kanye West is like trying to escape from this world of like psycho child predators and otherwise evil people that are secretly running the world. I don't know. It's screwed up, but the whole thing, but the brand is like in chaos. They're suing the creative agency and the photographer and everybody else. The photographer saying it's not his fault. It's just on. And like, but then at the same time, like you see the images and you think like, how did any one of the literally probably for a brand like Balenciaga, hundreds of people who had to sign off on this, like how did any of them think that this was okay? Did you Google any of the pictures? Are you looking at them?
Yeah.
You should look at what they are, because it's. I mean, like, how did anyone think it was fine? Are you okay? Are you unhappy now that you know about Balenciaga?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, anyway, I hope Kanye's not really running for president. I tend to think not. I enjoy Milo quite a bit. I assume his Twitter account is on the way back anytime now, but I like Milo's Twitter account. Trish in the chat says she was once retweeted by Milo, but I like Milo. Tom took a picture with Milo once, actually. I do love him. I do love him, but I wouldn't necessarily want him advising my presidential campaign if I were running one. Thoughts?
My thoughts are, Milo's a talented guy and a funny guy and a fun guy who is determined to be a superstar in the politics / entertainment field, and he keeps repackaging himself to get that done, because the first one was derailed when he said something controversial about how a lot of gay men have groomers as kids, as younger men.
Yeah, he essentially said that he was abused as a kid by a priest, among other things, and that a lot of young gay men's first sexual experience with other gay men is with a much older gay man, sometimes when they're underage.
Because if
they didn't like hearing that.
Had he been a progressive gay man at that time, that would not have been a problem. But it was Trump.
It also happens to be true.
He was Trump adjacent, so he had to go. So,
I mean, it was an excuse because they didn't like him, so that's why. But
I thought the writing stuff he was doing for Breitbart was very cheeky and funny, and he was just on a personal level at the RNC in 2016. He was just like very sweet and fun. So, and not everybody had to be. He was kind of a real good get then, and he was just sort of cool and accommodating, and he was just very nice. And
thoughts on Fuentes?
I think he is. The right has been talking about the left as being groomers and being oddly interested in knowing and embarking on a sexual journey of at least sexual learning with young people for decades now. They want them to read books about graphic sex, 13-year-old girls, and incest, and this and that, all sorts of and they want to take them on these journeys. And this is true. And I just remember this about 7 years ago. Somebody, when we lived in Melrose, saying, "Why were you learning about this? Why do kids have to read this book about a 13-year-old girl having sex with a family member and the graphic nature of it?" And I remember a bunch of these progressive mothers saying, "Well, these kind of things do happen, and they have to learn somewhere." Really? Have to learn somewhere? So it's interesting to me as a man, and I think men have clear vision on this more than women. Not always, but because men are craven. Men can tell. Men are much more sexually aggressive, more dogs, or more, it's. And so you can see, and men also, we're civilized people, so we know that we need to have boundaries, etc. So when you see this behavior, you say, as a guy, wait a second. The only reason why I would hand a 13-year-old girl or a teenage girl, because a 13-year-old girl is a baby, but the only reason I'd hand a 17-year-old girl a book about graphic sex and want to have a conversation with her about that, or like in Connecticut, the pizza sex. Like, okay, so let's say oral sex is pepperonis. Do you like pepperonis in your pizza? The only reason I would if I were a pervert, all men are to an extent,
Mm-hmm.
be interested in that is for sexual reasons. Because there's no why is a 43-year-old man so interested
In what teenagers
right
are into for
huh
sex.
I'm looking to make sure your
Mhm.
mental health is okay. No, it's you don't. Why would you go right there? And so, like, for years we've been saying, wait a second, there's these people are perverts, groomers, whatever. And now suddenly we're seeing all these green, what do you call them, sproutlets,
Sure. Shoots.
green shoots
Mm-hmm.
of the real thing.
Yeah.
And they really are into it. You're seeing them like exposed, and it's
Oh yeah, I think they're gonna openly be
yes.
pro
And you had the
pedophilia
kid-
within like 5 years.
And you had the kid who said, "Yeah, I agree." And you had the kid a year and a half ago from the college, the professor say, "Oh yeah, we have to talk about maps, minor attracted persons or this that."
Or you had the person 2
right,
years
and he
ago
had to go
for
away.
Pride.
Remember, he had to go away, and because he got way ahead of it. It's like, no, you don't go too far ahead. And if you heard today,
There was a person 2 years ago who wrote for Pride that that she was happy that her kids see kink at Pride.
right, and so like we were listening today to the Bill Maher podcast, and was it him with Robbie Schneider,
Yeah.
where he talked about essentially it was like he's a good progressive for gay rights, etc. And essentially they got on the train, the D train, and fell asleep, stayed on way past their stop, and ended up 18 stops ahead. In other words, the one where now there are minor attractive persons, and he didn't sign up for that, you know? But it seems like that's what happened. Now we're seeing it come to fruition, and I think that's much like Fuentes. The left has been, but
What's like Fuentes?
But I think it's like Nick Fuentes, because in this with the perversion stuff in the left, I think we always thought it was there. Is it there? Is it there? It's there. Oh wait, yeah, it's there. With the right, I think the left has a different set of standards, and they just invented a boogeyman. Republicans, conservatives, Nazi deniers, Nazi Holocaust deniers are Nazis. This, that, Nazis. This, and that, Nazis. This, and the left did whatever they could to break down men. They suck. They're terrible. The worst things in the world. Nazis, Holocaust deniers, Nazis. And they threw so much crap at a generation of kids that a bunch of kids just went mouth breathing around, and nobody said anything nice about them with a smile and twinkle in his eye until Nick Fuentes. And so, in one sense, like the left has conjured up, they created Fuentes with all this narrative about how terrible and this and that, half the country is and certain kinds of people. And the right discovered what they always believed when it comes to these grooming people. But with Fuentes, my feeling is every part of me has danger sense when it comes to him. That he's a dangerous dude with a dangerously high charisma level that is fully capable of charming men by the hundreds, by the thousands, by the tens of thousands, by the hundreds of thousands, into a not even a nationalism, but into a fury of self-importance and destiny that will fill them with hope and vigor in a way that could be historically bad. I don't go around saying this dude's an authoritarian like Hitler, whatever. That guy.
Well, he's definitely an insane person, among other things.
Well, sure. That guy's a problem. He's a problem. And if Trump's hanging out with him, if nobody in Trump's circle,
Well,
stopped,
Trump's trying to distance now.
He had
He's
dinner with
had a
him,
bunch
Alice.
of tweets. He
How
said
do
he
you-
didn't know who he is, and
well, if he doesn't know who he is, then there you go. That's disqualifying right there.
yeah, but
He's a problem. I don't know if you get the same thing about Fuentes that I get, but I see a guy who.
well, there's the whole thing where he says that like liking women is gay, and so he's like never touched one because that's too gay.
Whatever. It's
Like, he's a weird
You've
dude.
seen the people
He's
who
an
follow
odd,
him.
odd guy.
You've seen the people who follow him. They're losers. But Himmler was a big fat loser. It doesn't take much.
I guess we'll see. But yeah, I am not a fan of him and not a fan of Yay 2024, especially if it has people like that involved in the campaign. But I think there's a contingent of people who were Trump people who feel disappointed by Trump's sort of mainstreamness now, if that makes sense.
Right.
Who feel annoyed that Trump's like part of the RNC and with Meadows and McCarthy and McConnell and all these people. They're not into that, and they are disappointed in Trump. And so I think for those people, like Kanye and Milo and Fuentes sounds like an exciting prospect.
Not great.
So anyway, the only brand I know that screwed up as bad as Balenciaga this week is Tampax.
Mm-hmm.
Who tweeted this week, you're in their DMs, we're in them. We are not the same. It's literally from the Tampax brand account.
Great.
It's not rapey at all, coming from a brand that makes products you literally want women to feel comfortable with in that way. I mean, and then like Always brand, that's like their competitor, tweeted at them, how long have you been saving this one? And they said, since last period. So they eventually deleted all their tweets and like said they apologized and all this stuff. We messed up. We removed it and apologized to everyone we offended. Respect is central to our brand values. But you started off being creepy, disgusting weirdos. So, I don't know who's running the social media accounts of all these brands.
Jesse Single screenshotted Yahoo Finance from August 20th, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And the headline is, Debunking the Internet Lies About Jacob Blake Following Kenosha Shooting. Jacob Blake did not have a warrant against him for having sex with a minor, according to a Reuters fact check. The shooting of Jacob Blake by Kenosha police officer has led to a protest, but also false rumors alleging that he is a pedophile and threatened cops with a knife as a possible justification for the incident.
Of course, he did have a knife. And of course he was sexually assaulting somebody right before that. So.
Right. So anyway, we cannot do a Patreon. As you guys can notice, I've lost most of my motor skills. Actually, at this point, it's caught up to me. We've been up since I've been up since 5:30, doing a lot of driving, and so I wanted to check in and say hello. Let's see, what is it?
We'll do a Patreon show
Let's wait till we get to 40 minutes anyway.
Okay.
But. So other updates, I only saw one Confederate flag on the trip down south, which is last time there were many more Confederate flags. Here's my thing with the Confederate flag.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to fight over the Confederacy and how they have the right to whatever and whatever. I think if the people there, if they want that flag, I'm fine with it. It just so happens the Confederate flag is a really good looking flag. It is. Thoughts?
I mean, very aesthetic, yes. But the Nazis were also good at aesthetics, and we don't like them.
Totally.
So I don't know that should be really the standard for whether or not we fly flags.
Why are we hurt over the Confederate flag in 2020 when we weren't in 1980 when the Dukes of Hazzard had the flag on the top of the car? Like we're recalibrating our sensitivities, where we're stronger than this.
Mm-hmm.
We are. We're stronger than flags and, Confederacy. I mean, you can't have Lee statues or Grant statues. And we're stronger than that now because somebody's being hurt somewhere. Shut up. Shut up. Like I said.
Mm-hmm.
the Shattocks had a tough time with the
Native Americans.
Exactly. And I'm not demanding that all that crap go away. I'm fine with it, okay? Some are total dicks. Some are fine. It's true. It's true. Same on the other side. It's like, but you have to, no, we can't have it. It's insensitive. But maybe that's the problem. Maybe I should just give in and just decide I'm offended by stuff. I'm offended by your thing.
I'm all for it. Time to start being offended, Tom.
Yeah.
You seem offended a lot.
Not really offended. I mean, there's some things where I'm just like, I'm not happy that life is more like high school than ever, where the very stupid are getting most rewarded. And I don't think it was always like that. I don't think American 1970 had the biggest idiots in the country being rewarded for being the biggest idiots in the country. You were allowed to be an opportunist, a flim-flam artist, a shit-talker, and a whore in 1970, but you weren't necessarily crowned an influencer and paid millions of dollars for doing it. They existed, but they're put on a platform now and put in whatever.
I guess so.
All right. Are you fading too, or is it just me?
I'm probably
I feel like
fading
you hit
too,
by
to
a
be
trank dart in the neck
honest
about
with you.
20 minutes ago. All right. Sorry, guys. It's been too much of a haul. Talk to you in a bit.
But thank you for joining us. It was fun, as always.
Patreon bonus tomorrow.
We'll do our Patreon bonus show tomorrow. If you want to be there for that or to live stream with us, you can do that at patreon.com/burnbarrel. You can, of course, always find the show for free as well at burnbarrelpodcast.com. You can leave chat messages there as well. There's a red button. You can leave us a recorded voicemail. We'll do that tomorrow also. What else? You can talk to us on social media at burnbarrelpod on Twitter. Send us an email, burnbarrelpodcast.
Yeah, there's no doubt. She talks crime. I may have to take a little responsibility for some of this stuff in particular, because I